Hi everyone, it's Yvette Le Blowitz from SpiritGirl.com and welcome to the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today and with our very special guest, Julia Cameron, who has been hailed by the New York Times as the Queen of Change. Julia Cameron is credited by starting a movement in 1992 that has brought creativity into the mainstream conversation in the arts, in business, and in everyday life. She is the best-selling author of more than 40 books, fiction and nonfiction, a poet, songwriter, filmmaker, and playwright, commonly referred to as the Godmother or the High Priestess of Creativity. Her tools are based in practice, not theory, and she considers herself the floor sample of her own toolbox. The Artist's Way has been translated into 40 languages and sold over 5 million copies to date. Today, we'll be speaking to Julia Cameron about her brand new book, Seeking Wisdom, A Spiritual Path to Creativity. Julia Cameron, welcome to the Spirit Girl podcast show. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm so grateful that we're talking to you from Australia. This is such an honor. I absolutely love your work, and this is the greatest moment to be here with you today, virtually connecting in this way.
Well, thank you.
And I want to welcome all of our global audience right around the world. And I'm super grateful you're here also with us virtually. So, Julia, before we dive into your brand new book, Seeking Wisdom, are you happy to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
I'm 73 years old. I've been writing for 55 years since I was 18, writing full time. I write whatever seems to want to be written, which means that I have worked in diverse genres. I've written crime novels, I've written comic short stories, I've written plays, I've written musicals. And when people ask me, well, how can you do so many diverse things? I say, well, I listen for guidance and I follow where it leads. So I think that's enough about me. Just enough to say I practice what I preach. I am currently writing a book on guidance, which will be out in a year or so, I think. It takes a long time for a book to get to press.
Wow, that's such an impressive story. That's so incredible that you've been writing for 50 something years, Julia, and it's now been 30 years since you published The Artist's Way, which is a bestseller. How does it feel to have your bestseller out there now for 30 years?
Well, it feels wonderful. We have been climbing the bestseller lists during the pandemic. The enforced solitude that people have been able to endure has made them curious to go deeper. And so we've sold just about twice as many books as usual as we come up on the 30th anniversary. And I think it's remarkable to have a book that's 30 years old and it's doing well in competition with books that are brand new.
It's so remarkable. It's such a gift, and it's helping so many throughout the 30-year journey, but especially through the pandemic. And even a lady that I interviewed on my podcast show, Bryony Benjamin, who's an author herself of Life is Tough, but So Are You, refers to your book, The Artist's Way, as being a very important tool for her cancer therapy, treatment, and recovery period, and for her going through one of the darkest, toughest times of her life. The Artist's Way is helping so many in so many ways.
So thank you. I believe it does help people to get a grasp on what I would like to call a benevolent world. And I think that before people work the artist's way, they may feel that the world is a hostile place and that there's no place for their dreams. And then after they work the artist's way, they say, oh, I get it. It's a good thing we're living.
That's so beautiful. I get it. It's a good thing we're living. I love that. And Julia, how did you first start getting into writing and being creative?
Well, I was at university and we had a poetry magazine. And I wrote some poetry and published it, and I was instantly hooked. It became clear to me that writing was something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I found myself writing more poems and then writing short stories. And then I was spotted sort of by a talent hunter about the Washington Post, which is a famous newspaper in America. And I was asked to write for the Post, and I did. And then what happened was Rolling Stone magazine, which is a very hip magazine, read me in the Washington Post and said, would you come write for us? So my career was launched.
Wow, that is such an incredible story. And when it comes to your brand new book, Seeking Wisdom, what is the meaning behind the book title?
Well, I think that all of us at all times are seeking wisdom. And I named the book Seeking Wisdom to say the spiritual search is a good thing and something that you can embark on. And it is called The Spiritual Path to Creative Connection because I believe that spirituality and creativity go together hand in glove. So, seeking wisdom was meant to imply that we are able to seek wisdom and find wisdom.
Wow, we are able to seek wisdom and find wisdom. And why was it so important for you to share in Seeking Wisdom your own creativity journey and your own personal crisis?
I wanted to share the roots of my prayer practice. When I thought I would write a book about prayer, I didn't want to be perceived as holier than thou. So I thought, well, I'd better talk about how prayer came to me as a necessity and how I learned through practice that prayer was an indispensable part of the creative journey.
That's beautiful. And do you have any favorite prayers that you love to maybe say or that you'd love to share with us?
Well, I have a short prayer that I say every day, which goes, the light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is. And that's a prayer that I feel strongly is affirmative and helpful and comforting and encouraging and sort of all encompassing. So I use that prayer every day.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that prayer. And I just felt so at peace when you were saying that prayer to us. And it did give great optimism and hope. There are so many people at the moment, Julia, going through a really challenging time or struggling with the restrictions or lockdowns or their loss of job or a family member. And that prayer I felt is such a gift and a
Yes.
blessing. So thank you for sharing that with us. A lot of people might say to me, I don't feel spiritually connected. How do I tap into my spirituality? I've often found that if I sit quietly by myself and reflect and write sort of my thoughts and feelings and go inward and a little bit of alone time that can help. But what would you say to someone who's not feeling spiritually connected?
Well, this is where I begin to sound like a fanatic because I would immediately say, I'd like you to try writing morning pages, which is a tool of the artist's way. It's 3 pages of longhand morning writing about absolutely anything. And what happens when you write morning pages is that you're sending a telegram to the universe, and you're saying to the universe or to the higher power or God, whatever you care to call it, okay, here is exactly how I feel. Here is exactly what I want. Here's exactly what I hope. Here's exactly what I dream. And I think that the practice of writing morning pages automatically connects us spiritually, even though we may not use that terminology. We may say, oh, I'm doing it to improve my creativity. But what I have found is that when you work on improving your creativity, you're actually working on your spirituality. And when you work on your spirituality, you're actually working on your creativity. So they go together hand in glove.
Wow, I love that. When you're working on your spirituality, you're actually working on your creativity. And when you're working on your creativity, you're actually working on your spirituality. But doing the morning pages and writing the 3 pages of how you feel, what your dreams are, what your hopes are, and getting it out on paper can help all of us to feel more spiritually connected. And what I love about your morning pages, Julia Cameron, is it's really affordable. You can just get a pen and a paper. You can be in isolation, but you can still work on feeling spiritually connected, which is such a beautiful gift that you share with us in the artist way. And also, thank you for sharing that with our audience. In the Seeking Wisdom, your brand new book, you've also shared a 4th tool, which is writing out guidance. Can you share a little bit more about the 4th tool and why you wanted to introduce that into your brand new book, Seeking Wisdom?
Up until this book, I would have said there are 3 tools: morning pages, 3 pages of longhand morning writing, artist dates, once a week, a festive, solo, enchanted expedition to do something that you simply enjoy, and walking, which connects you to your environment and to your higher self. And then I realized uh, that I actually used a 4th tool, but I had never named it, and it was writing for guidance. So, can I hear guidance about X? And I use this all the time. Can I hear guidance about X? Meaning, could I hear guidance about what to write? Guidance about what to do? Guidance about how to perceive the universe? Guidance to find myself grounded and centered. And so I realized, well, I've used this tool religiously, practically, for over 30 years. It's probably time that I mention it. I shared it in the spirit of hope that if people will try writing for guidance, they will find that guidance is actually easy to access and trustworthy. And so I believe that writing for guidance well earns its way as a 4th tool.
Well, I believe it does too, Julia Cameron, because the writing for guidance is so beautiful and such a great way to tap into our guidance or higher power or intuition or the universe or whatever people believe in. Being able to write for guidance and then to receive guidance in these very turmoil times where there's so much going on in the world, there's so much instability. What I love about your writing for guidance is it can just help us during these very challenging times to receive the guidance and to make our way through whatever we're going through?
Well, I think writing for guidance is an indispensable support. And we think, oh, guidance must be difficult. We must have a hard time accessing it. But I have a friend, Sonia Choquette, whom you may have heard of. She's a wonderful spiritual writer. And Sonia says guidance is natural and normal. And don't think it has to be hard, and don't think it has to take a lot of higher education. Simply write, can I have guidance about? And then listen. And when we listen, we find that the guidance is very straightforward and calm and trustworthy. And writing it out allows us to have the privilege of rereading it when we need some support.
I love that. That is so beautiful to be able to reread it when we need some support. And I love how you've shared how it's accessible to all of us. And really, it's just about asking for guidance and then listening for that guidance. When it comes to your own self-care rituals, what are some of your own self-care rituals?
Well, I think the biggest self-care ritual is that I write morning pages. And I have been writing morning pages for over 30 years. And I find that they give me little nudges about what to do next, what would be helpful, what I need support on. And I find that if I act on the guidance, I'm led further. So I try to write morning pages, and at the end of my morning pages, I write LJ for little Julie. LJ, can I hear guidance about X? And then I ask, and then I listen. And what I get told is often, I want to say, a shortcut. It gives you guidance for things you can do right away, right in the now. And so I listen for that. I also try to walk daily on a treadmill, and I put it about a half an hour a day walking uphill. I think that the act of walking also gives me guidance.
Yeah, wow. I love your self-care rituals. And when it comes to your own morning pages, do you keep your own journals, your own books, so you too can reflect back on?
Well, I do save them, and I don't go back to them. I find that the pages have a way of nudging me into the present. So when I think about, oh, maybe I need to go back and read them, I realize that everything important that has to be said is being said repetitively. And I had a review recently, which I loved. I think it was supposed to be an insult. It said, Julia Cameron's tools are simple and repetitive. And I think that was intended as an insult, but I took it as a great compliment. I thought tools should be simple and repetitive.
I love that. Tools should be simple and repetitive. And that creates habit, doesn't it? When you do that every day, it then forms a habit and becomes part of your life. And it's simple, effective, and easy to manage when we're so busy. And when it comes to prayer, how did you first stumble across prayer?
What happened, and I talk about this in the book, is that I spent my 20s drinking heavily. It became a problem, and I needed to get sober. And so I found myself talking to other people who were sober alcoholics, and they said, if you want to stay sober permanently, you will need to pray. And I said, you don't understand. I hate prayer. I can't do it. I had 16 years of Catholic education, and that was enough to turn me off completely. And they said, well, just try it. And you must believe in something. And I thought about it. and I said, actually, I do believe in something. I believe in a line from the poet Dylan Thomas, the force that through the green fuse drives the flower. I believe in that creative energy, and I could pray to that creative energy. So I began to pray in an informal way, saying just, dear God, help me. And it was a wonderful thing to have a breakthrough about, because previously I had thought we needed to say, Our Father who art in heaven. And we may not feel that we identified with those formal prayers. So being able to share colloquially and candidly with a higher power gave me a breakthrough.
Wow.
And kept me sober. I think that I tell the story, which is an intimate story in the book, because I felt like I wanted people to understand the precise route that prayer came to me through.
I love how you just shared your story with us, and I'm very grateful. I also love how you included it in Seeking Wisdom, because it really shared your own personal story of how you discovered prayer. And I'm grateful that you gave it a go. But what I love about your philosophy with prayer is it's universal. We can all do it or use it, and in any way, whatever our belief is, that we can all do it in our own unique way. And I feel that you've opened the pathway for that, especially through all of your work, but in Seeking Wisdom, it really gave me a greater understanding of your own prayer journey. So thank you, because that gives us so much hope, Julia, that you were able to also use it as a tool in your everyday life to enrich your life and to enhance it and to make it greater and better, healthier and happier and more connected.
Yes, I think that prayer causes all of those wonderful things you've just mentioned.
And I want to ask, if there was someone tuning in right now who wanted to become an author and to write a book, it's always been their dream. Now, they might be in their 70s, 80s, 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever the age might be. What words of wisdom could you share with them if their dream was to write a book?
Well, again, now here's where I sound like a fanatic, because I would immediately recommend try writing morning pages. Write every day. Write what crosses your consciousness. Write down what we would call in meditation cloud thoughts. Write what comes across your mind. And there's no wrong way to do morning pages. And so they train your censor to stand to one side. Your censor will comment, oh, you're being boring. And you will say, thank you for sharing. And you simply set your censor to one side, and this becomes a portable skill. So training to write morning pages trains you to write anything and everything. And I have had many people come up to me and say, Julia, I used your tools and now I'm a novelist.
Wow, that's incredible. That's so amazing. Do you love, to this very day, receiving feedback from your readers when it really is that life transforming moment? How does that feel?
Well, it feels wonderful. I find that I get very excited by people's journeys. And when I have been able to give them tools that allowed them to access their dreams, I feel like I've been of service. And it's a good feeling. It's a feeling of joy, and I want to say of completion, that the book has reached its intended audience and done its intended job.
Wow, that's so amazing. And want to ask you, with your brand new book, Seeking Wisdom, what is now your hope for your newfound book readers?
I hope to connect to them spiritually. I hope that they read my story and they say, "Oh, well, if she can pray," and she's obviously not a spiritual giant, "if she can pray, maybe I can pray." And they take a flyer in an attempt to find a prayer voice of their own. So I'm hoping that the book gently wakes people up to a sense of possibility.
I love that. A sense of possibility, because that's what we definitely need at the moment, Julia Cameron. And I'm so grateful that you've shared your personal story in the book when it comes to your own prayer journey, but also you've included now the fourth tool, which is our writing out guidance. So we can ask for guidance and we have to listen. But you've also shared the morning pages, which we can all do anywhere in the world at home with a pen and paper, 3 pages a day. And I also love how you also shared your self care ritual, which is walking. I love to walk also in Australia here, and I feel very spiritually connected to the land and to all of the elements of Mother Earth and Mother Nature. And I feel at one, and it's a beautiful feeling. So, Julia, I could speak to you forever about your incredible book, The Artist's Way, about your brand new book, Seeking Wisdom. It's just been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. And I want to ask you the very last question. If someone out there was really struggling, could you impart anything in your own words to help them in that moment?
I think I would say start your morning pages. Even if you're just beginning them, they will have a powerful impact, that they have life-changing ability, which shows up rapidly. So you don't have to wait a year. You may find within a couple of weeks that you are what I would call positively addicted to the habit of morning pages, and they are a witness to your life. They are an important source of support.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Julia Cameron. It's been an absolute honor speaking to you. What is the best way to stay in touch with you after the podcast show?
I have a website. It's juliacameronlive.com. And on it, I have my plays, my music, my poetry. People can read for fun and for free. And I think that that will give them a taste of what I call my creative kingdom.
Well, I love, love, love that we've had this opportunity today to be with you, Julia Cameron. This has been such a heartwarming moment for me as someone who loves to write, as someone who loves to journal, read books, loves your work, and loves everything that you share and do. It's just been an absolute honor to spend this time with you. And I'm so grateful and truly blessed that I was able to share you today with our Spirit Girl global community so we can all help to feel more connected spiritually and creativity wise. So thank you again.
You're very welcome.
We'll say goodbye to Julia Cameron, and I just want to thank you for all tuning into the Spirit Girl podcast show. Be sure to subscribe, to leave a 5-star rating and review, and to tell someone you love to. And together, let's feel good from within.